Good evening, everybody. This is Sunjay from Yes Bank. Hi, Chawanji. Good evening.
Honorable members, welcome to GEMA webinar. We are privileged to have among us Mr. Sunjay Vupulluri as the speaker from the industry. Mr. Sunjay Vupulluri is the national head of Yes Bank's Food and Agribusiness Strategic Advisory and Research Unit. This specialized knowledge banking vertical provides unique knowledge-driven solution across the food and agriculture domain by actively engaging in research, strategic advisory, policy advocacy, and knowledge dissemination. Mr. Sunjay holds a master degree in agriculture with majors in genetics and plant breeding and a postgraduate diploma in agribusiness management from Manage Hyderabad. He has more than 25 years of work experience handling various roles across management consulting, agri-commodity, procurement, rural extension, marketing of agri-inputs, and agri-financing. I inviting our knowledge partner to start knowledge share. Over to you, Mr. Vupulluri.
Thank you very much, Rekha. Hi, Arishi ma'am. Good evening. Hi.
Thanks for accepting our invitation and enriching the members with your knowledge share today regarding maize in India, trends and opportunity. Shall we start now?
Sure. So, thank you very much. Yeah, sure, ma'am. To you.
So I'll just do the introduction again. So thanks a lot, Mr. Sunjay Vupulluri, for joining us today to share some very good, high quality information on maize in India, the trends and opportunity. And thank you for accepting our invitation to share this presentation. And we really appreciate you being our knowledge partner. Over to you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And thank you, Grain Ethanol Manufacturers Association, for inviting Yes Bank to present our views on the maize sector. And welcome everybody, all the ethanol manufacturing industry leaders and all interested stakeholders for joining this webinar. And thank you for inviting me to present our views on the maize sector. So I'll just share my presentation and I'll put off my just give me a second. Is my screen visible?
Yes, we see it.
Great. So thank you again. Most of the participants here must be wondering, what is Yes Bank doing talking about maize? A bank and maize is an agriculture subject. So I thought I'll give you a brief, introduction of our team, the team that I work for, and then I'll take you to that presentation with your permission, ma'am. So in Yes Bank, we have something called the knowledge banking proposition. It is a very unique proposition. Typically in a bank, there are product teams, the teams that are the credit, the risk team, the agri product management team. They take care of all the products that are to do with asset and liabilities. And then the relationship team, they're the team that actually reach out to you and put forth these solutions to you. And in Yes Bank is the only bank that has a knowledge banking team. So basically, this is a team of industry experts, people who have worked in the sector, who come together, work alongside the product team and the relationship team, and provide beyond banking solutions to the clients. So the idea is to help clients understand the market, study the trends in the market, and grow their business. So we are typically, I am from one of the knowledge banking teams. We are non-bankers in the bank, typical people who are from the industry. So I represent the Food and Agri Strategic Advisory and Research team. I've come to the next slide. This is a specialized team of agri experts, food and agri experts. We have people with food technology experience, with experience in agri inputs companies, seed companies, fertilizer companies, people who are dairy technologists, who are veterinary doctors. All of us come together to provide knowledge banking services to stakeholders in the food and agri domain. So what do we mean by knowledge banking services? There are three areas we focus on. One is we provide consulting services, that is for the private sector. We do strategic advisory, that is entry, growth, and diversification. And we also do project advisory. So we do feasibility studies, value chain assessments, DPR developments, project appraisals from an economic perspective. So this is the activity we do with private sector. And with government also, we have worked with a number of government bodies, including Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Food Processing Industries, Ministry of Agriculture, many state governments, where we develop vision and policy advocacy documents, and we do impact evaluation studies for the schemes that they come out with. So our clients include clients right from multinational companies like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, or Indian companies like Bikanerwala, and a number of companies in that space, and government. Of course, the latest agri export vision document that is on the Ministry of Commerce site is done by our team, that is the Food and Agri Strategic Advisory and Research team. So that is one set of activities we do. The second set of activity is knowledge partnering for events. So many government bodies and industry associations, they do annual events on specific topics. So while they are running the event and they're busy doing the operational stuff for the event, the knowledge part, that is developing a knowledge report, looking at trends, helping in developing presentations, this activity we come in and support the associations in this. Very recently, we have just concluded one knowledge event with the Micronutrient Association of India in Bombay. So in addition to that, we do other knowledge initiatives. For instance, the activity we are doing just now is sharing knowledge about a sector to external stakeholders. So if there is a specific request from anybody, we do that communication. And this knowledge is also used for internal knowledge sharing, so that the bank and the risk team, the credit team, the relationship team, they understand what is happening in the sector, and they're able to positively view the growth in the food and agri domain. So this is the broad objective of the facade team, the knowledge banking team. And our focus is to boost sustainable growth of the food and agri sector by providing beyond banking value for all stakeholders across the food and agri value chain. I talked to you about knowledge events. So this is one activity we do quite intensively. For instance, this year alone, we have done more than 12 knowledge events. These are national level events, and we engage to try and collate, the knowledge that is in the industry association, put it together, and then use a knowledge event to communicate it to the other stakeholders. So this is a quick view of the team that I represent. And thank you very much for inviting us to present on the maize ecosystem in India. Uh, this is a 11 slider, and I'll be quick in terms of the delivery. This presentation is broken into two parts. The first part is talking about the trends. I'll take you through the supply trends, the demand trends, the commodity price and trade trends. So that is the first part. And the second part is, how is maize being looked at from a macro perspective? What are the emerging opportunities, and how are stakeholders aligning themselves to these emerging opportunities? So that is the second part of this presentation. And then I'll conclude with a one slider on what is in it for ethanol players. Maize is a very, very important crop for our country. In fact, in terms of acreage and production, maize is the third largest, crop under cultivation in the country after rice and wheat, from a cereals perspective, and it's also the third largest in terms of production after rice and wheat. But what is very important is the way maize has grown from a supply perspective. The acreage under maize over the last 10 years has grown by more than 24%. And the production of maize has grown by 55%. So this is extremely significant. If we compare this growth with other cereals, in fact, maize is the fastest growing cereal in our country. From a compounded annual growth rate perspective across acreage and production, Cereals, if cereals has grown at around 0.5%, maize has grown at 2.2%. So very high growth in terms of acreage and also significant growth in terms of production. Production has grown at a compounded annual growth rate of about 4.5%. Now, is this good? Is this average? Is this not very good? We'll come to it as we talk about demand, because supply and demand is the main thing that we need to look at. But when you're assessing any crop, it is very important that we assess the seasonality and geographic distribution of the crop. So in India, as you all know, we have three agricultural seasons. One is the Kharif season, second is the Rabi. Kharif is typically starts in June, the sowing starts in June. Rabi is somewhere October, November, and then summer starts somewhere in February. More than 70% or 74% of maize is grown in the Kharif season. But what is important to note is that just 59% or less than 60% of production is from the Kharif season. Boleto, productivity in the Kharif is quite low compared to the Rabi. Rabi, you have a 20% acreage cover, but 32% of the total production is in Rabi. Now, why is this important? It is important to understand that wherever we are located, it is important to understand what will be the flow of maize for your factory or your catchment, or how will your catchment behave. From a state perspective, in terms of acreage, the largest acreage of maize is in Karnataka. Karnataka contributes to more than 17.5% of the total area under cultivation of maize. But in terms of production, it is Bihar. Bihar produces more than 15% of the total maize produced in India, followed by Karnataka, of course, very close, about 15%. But why is this difference? Actually, the difference is if you look at the dark blue, bars. I'm sorry, on the right, the Rabi season is typically high in Bihar, in Tamil Nadu, in Telangana. So these are the states that actually produce more than the states which have more Kharif, crop. Now, productivity as a subject is a very important topic in maize, because India productivity of maize is quite low compared to global production. This slide shows the top 10 producing countries in the world of maize. US is the leading producer, and US has about 17% of the area under cultivation. And India is in terms of acreage, it is the fourth largest in terms of acreage, but in terms of production, it is the fifth largest. Argentina beats us in production, though they have just about 8 million hectares of land under maize cultivation. India has 11 million hectares. Argentina produces about 41 million metric tons of maize, and we produce about 38 million metric tons. Compare this with US. US has about 35 million hectares under maize, that is about 3 times that of India, and produces close to 400 million metric tons, around 390 million metric tons of maize. That is about 10 times or more than 10 times that of India. So productivity is the main challenge that we are facing in India, and the productivity difference across states and across seasons is very varied. For instance, states like Maharashtra, or for that matter Gujarat, the productivity is low compared to states like Bihar or West Bengal or Tamil Nadu, where the productivity is comparatively higher. So that is about the supply side. A quick look on the demand side. From a demand perspective, maize is very different from other food grades, primarily because it is not a major food grade. The utility is for other purposes. It is not for direct, a small part of it goes for consumption, but more than 65% of maize goes for feed consumption. And of this, poultry feed is a major one. 50+% of maize goes for poultry feed consumption, followed by livestock feed. And the second most important is the starch industry. About 15% of the maize produced in the country goes for starch. And ethanol is one industry that is really changing the dynamic of the maize, maize sector. And as of now, that is FY24, it used to contribute about 5% of the total offtake of maize, but this is going to significantly change as we go forward. I'll take that up a little later. But if we look at the consumption trends as a whole, over the last decade, maize has grown at a compounded annual growth rate of about 5.8%, that is close to 6%. Now compare this with the production growth that I showed a couple of slides back. Production was growing, that is supply is growing at 4.5%, whereas consumption is growing at about 6%. And this consumption has grown really very fast over the last 3 years. Last 3, 4 years, the compounded annual growth rate has been 9%. So that means that there is going to be a significant demand supply gap when we go into the future. And even a study done by NITI Aayog published last year very clearly indicates that there is going to be a 5 to 9 million metric ton gap between demand and domestic production in maize. So clearly this demand supply gap is reflecting on the price trend. So if we look at the last 10-year data in terms of price, the table on the left side, you'll notice that while the global prices have also increased dramatically, they've increased by about 65%, but the India prices have increased by more than 75%. So we are at around 23, 24,000 or even slightly more in terms of mandi price, average mandi prices, compared to the global prices of around 17 to 18,000 rupees per metric ton. The line graph on the right side indicates the way prices have behaved and compares the global maize price with the India maize price. The pink line is the global price and the blue line is the India price. So you'll realize that most of the years, India price has been higher than the global price for maize, except for a couple of years, probably 21, 22. If not, India prices have been higher than the global prices. Likewise, the trade trends also, we have till this year, we have primarily been a maize exporting nation. Our imports was comparatively less based on a quota-based import system. But this year, we are going to, it is said that we're going to touch across the 1 million metric ton mark for imports, and we are going to become a net maize importing nation. So again, a lot of dynamic happening here because of the increased demand for maize. So that is a quick look at the supply and demand trends. So uh, uh, given this dynamic, what is the opportunity? The opportunity is very diverse because the sectors are very diverse, the requirements are very diverse. But the most important opportunity that the maize stakeholders across the value chain are looking at is the bioethanol for fuel opportunity. This is really a disruptor from a maize perspective, and there is a significant policy push, as you would all know, for use of maize for ethanol blending. Uh, 5 years back, this blending was around 4.5 to 5% in 2020. And this year, 2024, we touched 15% ethanol blending of petrol. And by 2025, that is this cycle, we are expected to touch 20%. Many people say that we'll cross at least 18%, and there is a very high probability of touching 20% blending. Now, what is the trend here? The important trend is the capacity buildup. If we look 5 years back, the percentage of ethanol supplied from sugarcane was much higher than that supplied from food grains. Over the years, food grains, the percentage contribution of food grains is increasing, but recently, over the last 1, 2 years, it is the supply of or use of maize, the way maize is being utilized for ethanol production is changing dramatically. For instance, in 23-24, just about 1 million metric tons of maize was used for ethanol production. 24-25 estimate is close to 7 million metric tons. And in the next 5 years, this could go up to 16 million metric tons. Now, what is the opportunity here? The production is not growing as fast as the demand is growing. So the opportunity is to ring fence your supply catchment. It is critical that players across the value chain, in fact, every player, whether it is a bioethanol player or a poultry player or a starch player, they'll start ring fencing their supplies. They'll start partnering for catchment area development. They'll start partnering across stakeholders, and they will start creating value to the byproducts. For instance, for the bioethanol producers, the value addition comes through DDGs. So what is the technological innovations that can be done to improve the value of DDGs that is being produced could be an important opportunity that you'll be looking at going forward. As bioethanol players, there will be significant competition from animal nutrition. The compound feed market is also growing very, very fast, given the socioeconomic dynamics and the change in the food habits of our country. It is expected that the compound feed market size over the next 5 years will increase by more than close to 40%. It has grown by 20% over the last 2-3 years, and it is expected to grow by 40% over the next 5 years. So this would call for at least a 36% increase in the maize required for feed production. So again, they will, of course, the poultry feed and the animal feed industry will work hard to protect their maize supplies. Plus, there is a competition from fodder and silage opportunity. So, in addition to grain, maize is one of the most important crops for green fodder and dry fodder. And there is significant shortage of this in our country. So, there could be competition from that area. There's an opportunity there. And the second most important sector is the starch sector. Starch is a critical sector for our country. We have about 45 manufacturing locations around the country. And again, this industry is growing 6% year on year. And it is an important sector from an export perspective also. About 1 million metric tons of finished good is exported from the starch sector. Now, the maize requirement for the starch sector is expected to, has grown by about 24% over the last 2-3 years, and is expected to grow by 69%, touching 10 million tons by 29-30. So again, a huge demand coming from the starch sector. Their requirement almost matches ethanol. They'll be looking at higher starch content, and they'll be trying to protect their supplies. Human consumption, the requirement is slightly different for traditional human consumption. The type of raw material, the type of maize that is required is flint maize, and the demand for food consumption is broadly stagnant. But yes, the main competition will come from animal nutrition and starch. Given this scenario of industry-based working, there is another big opportunity that emerges in the maize sector, primarily because of the amount of effort that the government of India and various state governments are putting in to boost the farming ecosystem of maize. Maize is one of the very few crops, just like pulses or for that matter oil seeds. Maize is a focus crop for area expansion. In fact, the target is to grow maize acreage by 2 million hectares over the next in the short term, and by 2026, the government is looking at can we grow maize acreage by about 1 million hectares. So that is 10 to 20% increase in acreage. Now, what is the opportunity here? One of the focus areas for growing maize acreage is to look at a cluster development program around ethanol plants. And there is an opportunity to participate in government programs in this area. The second most important thing is the productivity improvement activity that the government is taking up. And the government is looking at partnering with private sector for R&D. Even the recent budget did indicate this direction, and there's again an opportunity to partner here with the government. Extension and linking farmers to markets is a key focus area for the government. Promoting maize FPOs is an area where the government is working very, very hard, and they're involving private sector in extension. For instance, programs like the PPP IAVD, that is the public-private partnership in integrated agri value chain development programs, or the cluster development programs, which most of you would have heard of. And if you've not, you might want to research this. These are areas that are where the government is looking at partnering with the private sector. I talked about the maize ethanol blending program. It's an important opportunity where a number of players are working to understand this sector, and it will be great to form partnerships here. But also the digitization and the sustainable agriculture initiatives that the government is taking up are significant initiatives that could change the way you're securing your supplies. For instance, the digital agri mission and the agri stick mission that is taken up by the government, where, hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Mr. Sunjay.
Yeah. So the digitization initiatives are very important initiatives that have to be closely watched, because they could change the way you're planning your sourcing of raw material. You would have the visibility of what is the crop that is grown in your catchment area, which farmer is growing what crop, and what could be the production and productivity in your catchment area using the ag stack. So this is a fantastic initiative that is coming up by the government. And a number of other agtech initiatives, such as promoting drones, mechanization, they all will play a critical role as you plan your supplies going forward. And of course, one of the key areas is the sustainable agriculture initiative that the government is taking up. And maize has a very important role to play, the role of crop diversification, that is replacing water guzzling crops with maize, is one initiative that can be measured. In fact, you can also measure the carbon credits that can be accrued out of such conversions, and they could be utilized as an opportunity in your ESG initiatives. So net, there are four key areas that you might want to very closely look at when you're addressing your maize supplies for your ethanol plants. One is, of course, farmer income enhancement in your catchment area. It could be through productivity improvement in partnership with input companies. It could be probably looking at offtake guarantees to protect farmers from price risks. And it could also be by focusing on quality management, mycotoxin management, wherein you get a better price for your byproduct, and hence your net profitability is better, which can be passed on to farmers. The second is, of course, PPP and extension and linking farmers to markets, which I discussed in detail. Digital transformation, sustainable agriculture, and climate action. These are the four buckets which you might want to look very, very closely as you plan your supply for maize. Just to conclude, maize is a very important crop for India, and the demand dynamics are changing dramatically. Animal feed was the main player in this area, but bioethanol looks like over the next 3-4 years could become a demand disruptor, could become the leading off-taker of maize. There is significant policy push to augment growth of maize from a production perspective. And the key challenges in the pre-harvest point is productivity, mycotoxin levels, aflatoxin levels, and stress tolerance. That is the low productivity in Kharif because of rain, because of biotic stresses and things like that. And at a post-harvest level, it is aggregation, storage, and logistics. There are about 1 million farmers that produce maize, and the average acreage is less than 1 hectare. So again, it is about how are you going to aggregate this material, how are you going to support FPOs and create an ecosystem which might supply material to you. So that is an important focus area that you might want to consider. And closing up the opportunity canvas, you might want to look at beyond raw material farming, farmer engagement ecosystems. You probably would like to look at multi-stakeholder partnerships for farmer income enhancement, digitization and technology for improving efficiencies, and you might want to look at sustainable agriculture as a core value proposition as you plan your ESG goals. So this is broadly the presentation I had for you. I'll stop sharing and we'll be happy to address any queries that you may have. Thank
House
you
is
very
open
much,
for
Sinha.
questions.
Yeah, good evening, Sanjay ji. This is Abhinav Singhal. I'm calling, I am talking on behalf of AVJ Agrico. We are one of the manufacturers for ethanol. So one of the questions which I have is that going forward, what do you see the trend in India? Will we be able to produce as much maize which is required with the growing demand for the ethanol sector vis-a-vis the other sectors which we are saying will also grow exponentially?
Clearly production is lagging demand. Demand is going to be higher than production. The focus is on trying to improve productivity, but market will definitely adjust. For instance, we were having a discussion on the poultry sector and what the poultry industry, how the poultry industry is looking at maize. After a particular point, when the economics don't work, then there are options. There is a minimum requirement, there is a medium requirement, and there is a maximum requirement of maize that the poultry sector works on. So after a particular point, the grain changes. They can change to wheat, they can change to rice, they can change to sorghum, but maize is the most important crop. So as long as maize is available at a particular price, it will be the price will be balanced by, and poultry industry will continue picking picking maize. But our view, and based on whatever government research view, it looks like the demand will exceed production in the near term. So this year has been a good year for maize in terms of the area coverage. There's an increase in area coverage. Even the production is expected to cross 40 million metric tons this year. So the situation could have been worse if it was a drought year. I mean, it has been a good year, and the availability has been better than what it could have been. I would say that.
Just a follow up on this question, that now the ethanol industry is anyways manufacturing DDGS, which is also going as a supplement for animal feed. So will it not substitute the maize component which is required in the animal feed or the poultry feed to a large extent?
Yeah, this is another area which we are researching very closely. In fact, DDGS is an area which you would also like to research very closely. There is a cap on the amount of DDGS that can be added to animal feed for the poultry feed. In fact, will DDGS be suitable for animal consumption? That is for ruminants. That is, I'm talking about the milk-giving cows and buffaloes. I don't think the percentage of DDGS that can be added to ruminant feed is high. The percentage of DDGS that can be added to to poultry feed is higher, but there is a cap. I think the cap is about 20%. I'm not very sure. I have to research it, but there is a cap. So it cannot replace the entire maize that goes into animal feed. It acts as a supplement. That is my understanding. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not technically an expert in this area.
Sanjay, what I felt was that maize was being used as one of the ingredients in the animal feed, basically because it was a cheaper raw material for them. But now with the increasing price of maize, they will resort to other substitute grains which are present in the market, which are cheaper than maize now. Won't that happen now?
SNA, sir, maize is not just because it's no. First of all, maize is difficult to replace totally. It can be replaced by around 30% or 40% in terms of volume, but totally replace nahi kar sakte because maize has a good protein structure for poultry especially. So maize is used for the protein content plus the starch content as well. So while protein content becomes more important for poultry, again, for layer it's different, for broiler it's different, but the requirement of maize is there. It will continue to hold its place. The volume might go down, but total replacement is not possible.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Any more questions from the House?
The DDGS has a different problem. Some problem which you might want to very closely look at. It changes the pricing of the structure, for DDGS.
Thank you.
This is a good insight what you, Mr. Sunjay, you have told about maize cultivation and maize differentiating between kharif and the rabi productivity. As your chart says, productivity is so low, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So we need to work on the productivity more because saying that land area will increase is difficult when we have got a land area will not increase for right?
Very difficult.
You will decrease something else.
Absolutely.
You will decrease something else. Either you will decrease oil seeds or pulses or anything else, which are again imported.
Correct. Absolutely.
So the only solution for everything is work on these productivity.
Correct.
That is the only solution. As you said here in your report, 11 million hectares is under cultivation, right? And presently you had shown 3.5 tons.
Correct, sir.
Per hectare is a average, right?
Correct.
World average is somewhere 6.
Top 10
somewhere
years.
5.8. I'm talking of non-GMO, not GMO. I'm leaving US aside, leaving US aside, okay. US is GMO, rest are Argentina, Ukraine, all are non-GMO, and we are also non-GMO.
Correct.
So if 1 ton is increased, it comes 11 million.
Absolutely.
And that satisfies the entire thing. Entire, whatever the shortage is. So that only thing you can do is, you cannot increase a single acre. If you increase, something will decrease.
Correct.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Then something will decrease, that will be imported. Still the pulse are being imported, oil seeds are being imported. That will increase.
Right.
So we have to have only pitch that the productivity per hectare should increase. Why the Kharif is so low? Can you just give light on that? Why the Kharif productivity is so low?
Sure. Our understanding, sir, there are two things. One is that Kharif is based on rains. Rabi typically will have better soil moisture than Kharif. Because Rabi season is dependent, while there is a lot of irrigation as well, it is dependent on additional soil moisture. So while Kharif, if the rains go bad, then the productivity is down. That is one. Second is the weather conditions. It's a cloudy weather. So the pest attack is higher. So for instance, in maize, there is a big problem of fall worm, fall armyworm. It really causes significant damage in yields. So the sunlight itself is lower. So vis-a-vis Rabi. So when the sunlight is lower, your productivity comes slightly down. But the impact of weather conditions, disease, pest attack is higher in Kharif. That is reason 2. Reason 3, the food consumption part of it. For instance, you take Maharashtra or Gujarat. The makki ka roti that we eat is not the maize that goes to poultry. They're two different varieties, and that is about 1.5-2 million ton production, and the average yield is less than 1.5 to
Yeah, it's 1
2
million
tons
maximum. Yes.
Yeah.
Popcorn
So these are the 3 reasons: the distribution of crop, the weather conditions, and the pest attack. These are the reasons why productivity is low. Second is that as a farmer, I'd rather invest in my Rabi if I'm a Rabi and a Kharif cultivator of maize, which there are examples, for instance, in Karnataka, in Andhra. I'd rather invest in high quality, high priced hybrid seed in Rabi than in Kharif. Because I put my seed into the soil, I don't know what will happen to it. I wouldn't put so much of money into Kharif. So, I mean, the varietal use is also very different between Rabi and Kharif in areas where there is an opportunity. So these are the reasons.
Yeah, that is why this Bihar crop is 11 tons per hectare.
Absolutely, because
they're Rabi. And
Rabi,
they can, you have
Rabi.
rightly said, they can bank on the better quality seeds. They can
Absolutely.
bank on better things because they are sure.
Absolutely, their hybrid usage is more than 90%.
Is there any solution? You say 71% you are saying in Kharif. And Kharif is totally unpredictable, totally weather dependent, totally disease dependent. So dependency on something which is uncertain is not high. How to do it?
What could happen, sir? For instance, if you take cotton is totally Kharif dependent, but the farmer spends significantly high on cotton. Why? Because he sees the returns coming in. Maize was a poor man's crop till 5 years back. Usko koi dhyan hi nahi dete the. I mean, it was not discussed as a crop. I think 5-6 years back, it was just there. It was like sorghum, bajra, and maize. It is growing in importance because of the commercial requirement. Now, this year, maize farmers have made a killing. They're very happy with what they've done in maize. So the interest levels from a farmer perspective will definitely grow. Now it is about how the price stabilization, how it will look like as we go forward, and how much at what level it will stabilize. But once we're talking about 25, 26, 27 rupees to the farmer, it'll, I mean, I'm sure the risk-taking ability will build. They'll start thinking, okay, I'll rather put some fertilizer, I'll rather put some, I'll rather buy a better seed. So yes, that is purely market driven. But in terms of productivity, if the farmer gives the interest level, if he sprays the plant protection chemical, if he applies the fertilizer, he can definitely increase his yield. Only thing is he won't want to take the risk given the prices. But if the prices are good, why not?
Yeah, that's true. Price is the most driving factor.
Absolutely, sir.
For them. But as you said, 25 was never received by the farmer. You know, this crop is harvested within 1 month. You agree with that?
It's a 4-month crop, but yes, 1 month.
Harvest. I'm talking of harvest.
Yes, it is harvested in a month.
Consumption goes to 6 months.
Throughout the year consumption hota hai, poultry especially.
So there has to be some aggregator in between.
Yes.
So how the catchment thing will work?
So
you want me to develop my catchment and hold everything? Hold what is produced?
So what happens, sir? Maize May, there is a significant, warehousing play. In fact, one of the most stored.
Yes.
And there are warehousing companies who are strongly focused on that. There are many good warehousing companies. In fact, even startups who have come up who are focused. I mean, maize forms a big portion of their overall business strategy, primarily because two things. One is the skewed production of maize. Rabi may only 30% is produced. Even with all the activity, we still have significant production in Kharif. We have very low production in Rabi, and there are only 3-4 states that produce this the Rabi crop. You have Bihar, you have Tamil Nadu, Telangana. So I start transporting maize from Bihar. You will see it is going all the way to Kanyakumari, or it goes even to Jammu and Kashmir if there's a plant there. Yes. So definitely, I mean, it is a warehouse and logistics plays a very, very important role. And there are players, like I was saying, multi-stakeholder partnerships. If there is a catchment area, a partnership, a platform can be knit up. And there would be storage facilities around that place. So everybody is, addressing the market. So banks are interested, given the current price. I don't think there is any bank that would not look at maize as a commodity to fund at this point of time. But once upon a time, you never knew the price could go anywhere. But now, this year, it has been a very good crop. It was better than rice, in fact. So yeah, it is a partnership activity which can be done.
The very good crop, very good price, thanks to ethanol industry.
Absolutely, sir. That's what
was grown within 1 year, huh?
Absolutely.
The farmer should be happy. You should be happy. Banker should be happy.
Government is happy. Farmer is happy.
Government should be happy. All should be happy. These are thanks to this ethanol industry. But nobody asked the plight of ethanol industry. How much they are passing through. Anyway, thank you very much. You had given a good insight. Anybody else? Then go ahead. Otherwise, we terminate the meeting.
Any more questions?
Thank you, Mr. Sunjay.
I request.
Sanjay ji, sorry, one more question I just came to my mind. Why is people not growing maize in the Rabi season when the productivity is higher in other states vis-a-vis the Kharif season?
That will, I think it's a regional.
It is not climate dependent, it is not soil dependent. Then why not more in the Rabi season and vis-a-vis the Kharif season?
That will depend depending on the region you are operating in. So for instance, Bihar mein to Kharif mein cultivate nahi karte hain. Why? Because they go for rice. If a farmer is given an option to grow rice, if he has the water, he will definitely grow rice. If he doesn't have that option, then he looks at other crops. So Rabi में अगर rice cultivate कर सकते हैं, तो people will go for this thing. The other options they also look at is fruits, I mean vegetables and things like that. I don't know. It will depend very specific on the region that we are talking about. But yeah, it is primarily a cost benefit analysis at a farmer level. And जो भी target कर रहे हैं ना sir, जो what I'm talking about, the 2 million increase in rice acreage, 2 million hectare increase in maize acreage, it is entirely focused on Rabi and spring season.
No, my question was different, Sanjay ji. See, for example, we take the state of Madhya Pradesh or we take the state of Karnataka.
Right.
There is enough maize which is grown in the Kharif season.
Correct.
But the same maize, because the farmer is growing whether in the Kharif or the Rabi season. So why don't they grow it in the Rabi season when there is not many fluctuations of soil or the climate?
मध्य प्रदेश मुझे पता है. Karnataka, I really don't know. I have to research. But Madhya Pradesh में they'll go for wheat. Wheat is a much more remunerative crop, much more safe. Government gives the price, so they'll go for wheat. It's a maize wheat combination. फिर भी per hectare के लिए per hectare benefit in rice and wheat is higher than maize, sir. So I mean, even at 6, 7, or 8 tons per hectare, rice will also do around in Rabi rice will do 6, at least 6.5. And it's safe. Government ले लेगा. And MP में तो wheat है, वो शरबती wheat है. That is, I mean, शरबती wheat is much more remunerative than maize. Yeah.
Basically, it is cost economics of the farmer.
Farmer level cost economics. Yeah.
Cost is वहाँ पे उसके पास खरीफ में रबी में जो से बेस्ट दिखता है वो बेचेगा लगाएगा. दूसरा एक होता है कि हैबिट भी होती है. हैबिट चेंज करना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है.
करेक्ट.
लाइक वेस्टर्न यूपी में आप शुगर केन के अलावा कुछ लगवा ही नहीं सकते.
Actually, UP में बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं सर. They're trying to increase the maize acreage.
In East UP, they are doing something where the sugarcane crop is not there.
Correct.
Where the potato is there, rice is there, pulses are there. There the maize is working, but not in sugarcane area.
Correct.
As per my knowledge, I don't know. But my experience says that. Similarly here, Abhinav is रबी में वो wheat ही लगाएंगे. Wheat का उनको श्योरिटी. अभी देखिए मेज में इनका कॉन्फिडेंस अभी 2-3 साल में लगेगा. अभी it is only 1 year when they got the price. 2 साल 3 साल इनको ठीक प्राइस मिल जाए, then they will be confident कि नहीं sell at a right price.
Correct. They are wise enough to understand which is giving them better benefit.
Yeah, sure. Anything else, sir?
Thank you.
I think we'd like to present a certificate of appreciation to Mr. Vupulluri for his time and his knowledge as our knowledge partner to GEMA. We are very, very thankful, sir, for your time and the most valuable information that you have shared through the Yes Bank FSR vertical. Thank you so much. This certificate is a small token. We will mail the same to you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
This is a good startup. We'll always, at least twice a month, we'll have some speaker on the webinar. Whoever is interested, he can join so that knowledge is elevated for our members.
Thank you very much, sir.
This is a good beginning with you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for the opportunity. We look forward to partnering with you in your future events and activities. Thank you very much.
Always. Thank you so much. Okay. Bye.
We are very thankful to Mr. Sunjay Vupulluri as a valuable knowledge partner. Please accept a token of appreciation from GEMA This will be sent to you by mail. Thank you once again. Good evening, sir.